This is the Revved Up Sports Show with Bobby Chaffee.
We do have this nice little format that we try to follow every week. We don't usually follow it.
And Rodney Rodriguez.
Entertain me. Tell me something. I need to know something other than what I'm seeing.
Y'all ready? Here we go. Here's Bobby and Rodney.
Hello, friends. It is time in 2022 for the first time. Hashtag Real Race Talk from Texas. Showtime Bobby Chaffee, Rodney Rodriguez. We are about to thrill you guys with some hashtag Real Race Talk. Welcome in to you and yours. Hopefully everybody had a great holiday. A Merry Christmas to you all. And a Happy New Year 2022. Hopefully everything good for you and yours. If you're in Texas, hopefully you are warm because it's cold. It's cold, man. It's cold.
It's a whole lot colder than what it was a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Did you get the cold? What do you want to call it? The cold traumatic stress syndrome when it got this. Remember the last time it got this cold, pipes were breaking and lights were going out and everything else, and it was snowing for days.
I got to tell you, it's been. I mean, not funny, but it's just. You know, I guess maybe it's that PTSD that we talk about with all the things. I've had so many folks, you know, with my regular life of real estate. I've had, folks calling me with listings. Hey, have you checked my pipes? And especially when the women call, hey, have you checked my pipes? And I'm like, what? And, it's like, hey, we're concerned about, pipes bursting. I'm like, well, we might need it to get a little bit cooler yet. I mean, what's getting us is the wind chill, but not to worry, friends and family, because by the time we get to Thursday and Friday, we'll be sweating our asses off once again.
It's supposed to get to like 80, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I'm actually going to be in Wyoming Thursday through a few days out on a little getaway. So I'm going to be very cold. We're going to be doing lots of cool stuff. So looking forward to a little bit of relaxation, a little bit of R&R. So that'll be coming up for me. But so this program here, Bobby, you guys for New Year's. I mean, how was everything for y'all? It's so funny. I think back to it all the time now, being a young whippersnapper back in the day, it was always, okay, where am I going? Where am I going to go raise hell? What am I going to do? And for me now, it's like junk food, maybe some board games, something on television, maybe some old sports and just, chill, license to chill.
It was really boring, actually. Nothing exciting. We walked out at about 30 seconds to midnight, walked out in the driveway and watched all the neighbors shoot off all the fireworks.
Yep.
And watched that for about 10, 15 minutes. It's a nice show. People spend lots of damn money on some fireworks. It's always nice when you see somebody else spending some time there, time and money on fireworks. Some of our good friends had some issues with their newborn health-wise, so we didn't get to hang out with our friends like we normally do. But right. We just watched the fireworks go up, stayed outside for about 10 minutes and went back inside. I think Elizabeth decided to go right to sleep by 12:30. I watched a little bit of YouTube, and I was in bed by 12:45 myself. Yeah,
that's the way it works these days. I mean, just getting to the finish line is sort of the MO for me these days. But it all worked out. Thankful for 2022. I mean, it's going to be a good year. I think there are good things to come, and I think that we're not at the finish line of all the bullshit, but I think we're gonna get there. We're gonna be all right. I think we're gonna be all right.
Looks like we got a little speed bump to start off the 2022 season with this Omicron stuff, but hopefully this passes as fast as we think it might, and hopefully everybody tries to stay as healthy as they can in the new year. It seems like everybody's more positive now in 2022 than they were at this point in 2021.
Well, it seems like, now we know the drill. I mean, now we know the drill. And I'm just so glad that we don't have the knee-jerk reaction, that we may have had in the past, because it was like, boom, done, shut it all down. I mean, now we're a little smarter. I think we all are. And again, I mean, there's a lot of, I just hope that in 2022 we're going to be better with just kind of, let's it's okay to not agree, but let's just kind of work together to be. This is the best place to live for a reason, and I think we need to get back to that, and let's get over some of the hurdles, and let's not going to get on a soapbox here, but let's just get along. I think it'll be fine.
That's harder said than done.
Oh, I know.
Hell, we can't get people to agree with rules on a racetrack, much less try to get along with everything else.
Speaking of that, so coming up here in just a little bit, 7 o'clock, we are going to talk to the Kevins. It'll be Kevin Rogers, Kevin Sestair. They're going to jump on. They've got yet another new venture. I mean, these guys just continue to do their things right there. And you got to love what these guys do because they tie the full production in. I mean, they
really do. Yeah.
I mean, they do it all. And that's they have that leverage to where they're able to do this. And, man, I'm amazed by what these guys do.
It's crazy the scope at which they're trying to get into now.
I know.
They did great things there at RPM up there in Crandall, Texas, and to see what they're going to do up at that Petty racetrack. They're formerly known as 82 Speedway, so it'd be a lot of fun. If you didn't get a chance to catch KR and Owen together on that
damn good team,
they really were able to fire up down there at the formerly known South Texas Speedway. Did we announce that? Has that been? Was that the breaking news?
No, actually, we didn't give the new name of that. Owen didn't do it when he was on here. Boom, right there. I like that name.
It's a little.
I like that name.
You know, it's different, and I think that's what's going to make it work. It is a little different, kind of a little bit out there in my mind, but I think it's catchy enough to make it work. I actually thought that was going to be like the deal that him and Cord were working on, like where you go and Allgaier when you go out and you do like the mud park and stuff like that. That's what I thought that was going to be when I got the Facebook request. Well,
and I think about this because if you think of that place right there in the corner of Brownsboro and whatever that other street is, you know, what is that? I mean, that's I think that's where the shitter was down there in Riverside when they talked about Riverside Speedway. If you think about that, there's a lot of room right there for them to do possibly a race ranch. I mean, I can totally see that place. I can see motocross there, you know, maybe a bigger go-kart track. I mean, I can see a lot of stuff there. I mean, Owen and they haven't told me anything. I'm not in the know on this, but I mean, they can totally make that a race ranch. And you remember you had Cycle Ranch out in New Braunfels where they did a lot of things out there. I think that's a really good opportunity there for them to do that. It's a big patch of land. Place has a bar, and I think that
Turn 5 bar, right?
Yeah, you know, you got the bar there, and you open that thing up, and I really think that the I don't know, there's a lot of things that can happen there, and I think that. I like that name. I like South Texas Race Ranch. I like that a lot.
Let's see. It's Brownsville Road and...
I don't know if that's Riverside or not. I think that's probably somewhere else.
It's Old Brownsville Road.
Yeah.
And then there's a fireworks stand, apparently, that's right there, too. That must be pretty good. A couple of them.
Well, and what I love about that location is they're sitting out there. They're not going to impede. There's no housing. I don't see any housing that's probably going to move in there. I mean, they're in a really good spot. And, of course, you have the whole thing. And we're going to talk about this could turn into, Bobby had the great idea. Maybe after we talk to the Kevins, this could could turn into a call-in show. The New Year's resolutions. We want to give some New Year's resolutions for the racetracks, in our opinions. And again, this is not to piss anybody off. It's just ideas.
Good luck.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be hurt feelings, I'm sure. But, you know, just ideas of what we think should be resolutions for these places or these series. Welcome Lance Plant, first time viewer right there. He's checking in, I think, on the YouTube feed, RevvedUpSportsShow.com or RevvedUpSportsShow.tv. So many different ways to consume this little shit show. Tell your friends and get them on here too. But
especially on YouTube.
You ain't never lie. I think that is I think they're going to do some really cool stuff there. And I love that racetrack. I love South Texas Speedway. It's the only dirt track I ever won at, for the one thing. That's probably why. But I mean, I love the layout. I think the potential there is just amazing.
Well, I think that it's got the opportunity, right? I think that obviously Owen's a smart guy. He's a glutton for punishment, but he's not going to jump in both feet without actually having a game plan down there at South Texas, or at the race ranch. So it's a challenge. I think that after pulling some of the dates together, I think it's really hard for them to get all three on the same page when all three be in Texana Race Ranch and I-37. There is some crossover dates where they do race on top of each other, but I think that opens up the door where they work together class-wise. I really think that's the opening door for that. You know, you'll let this class off to race there, and I'll let my class off to race with you for a bigger race. I think that just takes a little bit of planning and a little bit of challenging stuff. But looks like there's some fun stuff happening. Looks like there's some ASCS non-wing elite sprint car races going to happen down there. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen. Looks like we kick off it off with the Frostbuster there at I-37, and then that next weekend that's the World Outlaw show at Cotton Bowl. So that should be a whole hell of a lot of fun. If last year was any indication at what the racing can be at Cotton Bowl Speedway with the World Outlaws, I'm looking forward to this second trip. Yeah,
absolutely. So quickly back to, because the nice thing is with racing, there's always stuff going on. So how about the Tulsa Shootout, 37th edition that we just watched right there? Craig Ronk is your winner there, representing the great state of Indiana. He leads all 55 laps, but 1,739 entries. That's a lot of damn nuggets, man.
Well, that's one day at the Chili Bowl.
And they said there were actually about 1,600 and some change that actually registered, once they started. So 359 races. That's a lot.
And it's just a drop in the bucket compared to the Chili Bowl here coming up.
I know, man. I know. And, I mean, how big was it, for Kyle Busch to make the appearance there? I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like him. But still, for him, for to have that impact, for him to be, that's one of those guys, like you say, moving the needle.
Yep.
I mean, that's one of those guys, when this dude shows up in your pits and he comes in and he is telling all of these people about how freaking great that race is, that's a big win for that event.
I think so. I mean, it has to be. When you have somebody the caliber, a lot of people are like, well, he should win every lower level race because he's got all the resources and all of that. It's the same thing. Does Donnie Wilson have as much money to spend on a super late model program as Kyle Busch? Maybe, maybe not. Are they going to spend the same amount of money buying the same equipment? Absolutely, you bet they are.
Yeah.
And it's not just Donnie Wilson that does it. It's a lot of those other guys that spend that same amount of money too. No different than when they come drop down and try to run some of the midget stuff. You're going to see that next week with Kyle Larson's going to have the best of the best. You're going to see Chase Elliott up his game again this year. Alex Bowman, I look for him to be a little bit of a sleeper when you go through the alphabet soup. So I anticipate the Chili Bowl being just like it always has been the last couple of years. Really entertaining, and I'm expecting that main event to take forever, just because the track prep between the last chance qualifier and coming up with the 55 lap main event. That show just kind of drags on. We talked about it before, that the way the show drags on, but it should still be a pretty damn fun race.
Yeah, and I love the tweet from Kyle Busch afterwards, because there was some chatter about other stuff or whatever. Kyle Busch took to Twitter and replied to this when it came to like him going that he should win every race, because that came up. I mean, that was the question, that he should win, when he's racing in the quote unquote lower tier stuff. And he replied to the tweet and said, this is Kyle Busch from @KyleBusch. If it's true that when you are saying about the best in the, hold on. If it's true, yeah, he wrote wrong. If it's true what he meant,
wrote wrong, or you read wrong?
No. He wrote wrong. So what he meant was, if it's true that what you are saying about the best in the world, whether it be open wheel and dirt, ? The World of Outlaws, the top micro, dirt late model guys. So these are all nobodies. They're not pros? ? He said. I will disagree with that all day long. Just because they aren't, quote, NASCAR, in quote, drivers, doesn't make them any lesser. And I think for local, for short track people to have that dude go run that race and come out and be saying that about y'all, it's pretty massive.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it really is the way that, we've talked about it before. Some of the best racers, the best racers don't always race on Sunday.
Yeah.
There's the perceived notion that that's the best racers that race on Sunday, but we've seen some damn good racers wheel a street stock in the middle of nowhere in Corpus Christi at 2:00 in the morning. Then we see some of the drives running on Cup on Sunday. So, I mean, there are a lot of it is timing and a lot of it is money, depending on how you catch your breaks to get all the way to the Cup Series. Hell, even Dale Jr. says it all the time, that there's street stock racers that are better than him.
Absolutely. And that is truly the case. I mean, you see him everywhere. And I think that Josh Berry is really the guy that's really flown the flag for those of us on the local side that you really do want to have that pride, and you want to talk about guys that have done really, really well, that given the opportunity, they go out and prove it. And I mean, Josh Berry has really been the one, and now he's going to elevate himself, and he's put himself in a great position to really make us proud. And I think that's why we should. One of the great things that we should appreciate of 2021 is what he did, because I think what Josh Berry did, and Kyle Larson too. I mean, Kyle Larson as well. And it's so funny to me because a lot of folks haven't called Kyle Larson a sellout just yet. I'm waiting, but I think that he's still so much on the short track racing side that people can't do that because he's still one of us.
Well, not yet. I mean, if he still continues to win cup races and continues to go out and smoke everybody's ass on the lower levels there on the grassroots stuff, then they might start calling him a sellout. But I think right now he's still like a folk hero. He's like a modern day Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream.
Dusty Rhodes, the Tower of Power, man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. That was Dusty Rhodes, and a great point there. I mean, Dirk, throwing that. I mean, it's very true. When you talk about cubic cash, that is very true. And the thing is, it's been so often. We talk to Freddie Fryer. All of the legends talk about cubic cash, but to me, that's still very important. It's still hugely a part of everything. But now it's not so much about cubic anymore. It's about, we go back to the daddy thing. Mm-hmm. We go back to the daddy or the mom cash and all of this. And I mean, that's a huge part of it, because there's a lot of folks that are, whether it be ARCA, whether it be trucks, whether it be anything, dirt late models, all across the scope. I don't give a shit which, form of racing that you're in. You've got that almighty dollar that trumps any talent that you may have.
Oh, it does. I mean, we see it time and time again. Speaking of moms, racing moms, I want to send our heartfelt condolences and prayers out to the Smith family and a passing to Kathy. Mm-hmm. Looks like they were having some health issues for a while, and she succumbed to her battle with whatever it was that was there. Yeah. But friend of the show, Casey Smith, been on the show a couple of times. So our thoughts and prayers out there to Kathy and the gang over there. Yeah. With them. But back to the conversation, it's a checkbook, right? The checkbook has always mattered. We've talked about it before, whether it was the old school days back in the 70s and 80s of the Cup Series. It says, I got a sponsor. I want to drive your car. Here comes me and my sponsor. Right. Checkbook involved there. No different than today's world where I've got a son that I think can make it. Here's a bucket load of cash, put him in a race car, and we'll pay for anything he tears up. That's right. You have the crash clauses and everything, and that really is the sad part, that there are so many short track racers around the country that have so much talent, but they just haven't been afforded that opportunity. And again, that's the nature of the beast. I mean, I was taught long ago when I dove into business stuff. I always sold myself short, and I still do it. On a lot of things. It's like I'm not educated enough. I don't have the training to do whatever. And a very wise mentor came to me a long time ago. And he said two things. Number one, quit selling yourself short, because people read that you sell yourself short. Number two, get your ass out there and meet people, because that's how you're going to get the connections. That's how you're going to find those opportunities. And that's what these racers do. Who you know matters more than what you know. Absolutely. And I tell my kids that all the time. I'm like, go network. Go meet people. And I mean, even for me, I don't know, as weird as it is for me, I do have a little bit of social anxiety at times. But for me, I can go talk to 5,000 people, 10,000 people, whatever it is. But when I get in these one-on-one, right. I'm like, and there's a lot of reasons why. I mean, whether it be, I don't know, my hair's too gray, my teeth are too crooked. I mean, I don't know what it is, but that's really the thing for the drivers. And that's really how it all works now is, man, you establish some kind of damn connection. And that's how they're out there keeping these rides. Think about the millions and millions of people that you got to talk to on Lost Speedways. Yeah, that was the thing. I mean, that was really the thing. And I didn't think about that, because we were sitting there and we're just bullshitting. And, it's all a mindset thing. So, drivers, set your goals for 2022. It's so important. One of the most, Joe Dan Bailey, our good buddy, good friend of the show, just one of our Texas guys that has gone off and done well, done it the hard way, worked his ass off, was a gas man, and did all of this other stuff. And now he is a high-ranking official in TRD. This dude, I mean, he told me, he said, when I talk to people, I am reading them.
I am reading their body actions. I'm reading their facial expressions. If they look nervous, I feel it. I can pull their nervousness out when they're talking to me. And that's huge. That's huge. How do we get all psychological here?
Speaking of Toyota, I got to pass their North American World Headquarters when I went to the game there in Frisco.
Oh, yeah.
That is one hell of a campus.
She big.
It's nice, but I mean, it's wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of money. There's a lot of stuff in Frisco. There's a lot of money up there.
Dirk, it's Natty Light, if you're referring to what's in my can over there. That's how we operate. This show has a very small budget.
That's right. We can create an advertising plan that works for you on a budget that works for you too.
I knew it was coming. RevvedUpSportsShow@gmail.com or message either one of our asses. When it comes to advertising, we will reply like the EMS. Boom. That quick.
That's right.
That quick. Okay, so resolutions. We got the Kevins at 7. So we'll start. We're going to give ours. So let's start where it's easy, since we're 6:53 Central. Heart of Texas Speedway. Here they are off again. They've got Enduro coming up February 5th, I think it is. New Year's resolutions for that place.
Don't screw up.
Yeah,
that'd be the easiest one.
Don't have a tornado knock the place down.
Yeah, control what you can control. Continue to do what you've been doing. I think that some of their stuff, I think their junior mini program needs to be refined a little bit from some of the stuff that we were, hearing and seeing on social media. But other than that, I think all their other stuff, their street stocks and that stuff's taking care of itself. But as far as the IMCA sanctioning and everything else seems to be working good. I mean, hell, they got a new sign up at the joint. So yeah, it'll be, I think.
Oh, Dink. Sorry, Dink. Without these, I can't see.
He can't see.
I can't see, and that's way away. Dink. Sorry, buddy. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's right, because your stuff is way smaller than mine.
It's way over there.
But yeah, that's it. Just try not to mess it up. Don't screw it up.
That's really the thing. I think for Waco, I mean, just continue that momentum. Keep adding people to there. I'm going to tell you what Waco does is they remember the past, and they do a tremendous job of bringing in the new stuff, like you're talking about junior limiteds and bringing in, the Bandits Outlaw series and all this other stuff, but they continue to feed you the old stuff. You are constantly reminded of the older stuff when you go to Waco. I mean, I love walking in there because it does remind me of Longhorn. You go in, there's a dedicated beer stand. You still have to buy beer. It's cheap, $3. That's cheap these days. You still go in. The food is excellent. And you have that old school feel. And I think that's where Waco the support is amazing. And I really think that seriously, the New Year's resolution is, God forbid, don't let anything happen to this place, because they have something that is so good at what them and Kennedale, same resolution. Just keep on.
Yeah, I think Kennedale would be make sure you're done by 10:30 or whatever it is for the noise ordinance out there. Yeah, New Year's resolution: always try to be done by 10:30.
That's important, and it gets hard over there at Waco, but they seem to be able to pull it off. And what I love about them, I remember the first time that I went to announce there. We have intermission. I'm like, okay, I got to run down. I got to hit, or I got to go to the bathroom. So I run down. I'm like, okay, when I go down, I'm going to get me one beer. I'm going to get me a beer. I'm going to come back. And they told me, they said 10-minute intermission. I'm like, okay, yeah, 10 minutes. Okay. Like 9:48, I hear cars coming out.
Well, like, that's how you do it.
Yeah. Stay consistent. I mean, for them just to keep on what they're doing, I applaud the other tracks that are trying to get on board with the street stocks and everything that they're doing there, because I know those struggle at a lot of Texas racetracks, and that's one place where they absolutely do not struggle. No,
they don't. Absolutely not. When you other tracks adopt your rules, that's when you know you're doing something right.
Mm-hmm. And I think something that they've done well, that I hope they continue to do, and I'm sure they will. Is Waco, even though they're not in Waco, technically. I mean, we say, let's go racing in Waco. That's not really in Waco.
You got to go through Waco to get to Waco.
It takes you a while to get through there. But you have to get over there to El Mont. You look at, and I went and looked at this, you look at the Waco Chamber of Commerce brochure.
It's got that place is in there. Yeah,
that place is in there. I mean, they have done a great job of establishing the place, and I think that I don't see any reason to why they're not going to do that.
It's a formula that's worked regardless of which promoter that's been out there. Mm-hmm. They've been through a couple of promoters, not in a bad way.
No.
But the last couple of promoters have kept it the same way. Selby does the same thing that they've been doing forever. It puts a little bit of modern touch on it here and there, but no reason to change. What is it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't reinvent the wheel. If it's rolling along and working just fine, fine-tune that bad boy and let it run like it's been running.
And they continue to evolve. I mean, I think that's one of the things that they've done really well is that they do. I mean, they reach out, they figure out ways to do stuff. And I think the future is going to be just fine for them. I mean, that's one of those where a lot of tracks have a lot of challenges, and we make it sound like it is totally easy. But we've talked to Selby and, Jerry Friedrich, and it's not that easy. But damn, they sure make it look easy.
That's the easiest thing. What happens is that when the best feeling that you get, you and I used to have to do that over at Thunder Hill.
Mm-hmm.
You spend hours and hours in meetings preparing for different types of stuff that's going to happen. And then when something doesn't go according to plan, you've got to jump in and make plan B work. And you usually don't know what plan B is until it's that time. And as long as the people sitting in the grandstands don't notice that big of a difference, or now the people watching on Race on Texas don't notice that big a difference, it's really not that big of a deal that it didn't go completely according to plan.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And a great shout out right there that Dink mentions about the lady at Mobile. We'll talk about her here in just a little bit as well, because we've got, resolutions for her. I mean, I know, we're both deeply involved with all of that. And I mean, there's lots of challenges right there. And with the guys that are about to be on the hotline here in just a little bit, I think that's one of the things, like we talked about. They've done a really good job to where they've gone in. And I mean, this goes way back. I mean, because we saw it, with the CTS thing, to where you have to do stuff to where it's not, God, we love racing. We all know that we love it, but man, it's not all about that, man. It's presentation is so important. And I think that's where I think a lot of the tracks, all around the country, not just here, need to figure that out. The racing is great, but man, sometimes the racing, either it sucks or it gets kind of boring.
It's an entertainment venue.
Mm-hmm.
That's the easiest thing to remember about it. And we'll talk to the Kevins about it for sure. There's that fine line between making sure you got great racing and then just being an overall entertaining deal. Like I talk about the Conference USA Championship game there at UTSA in the Alamo Dome.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of casual fans showed up there, T-shirt fans. Some people just wanted to see a good football game, could care less if UTSA won or lost. But what happened is that it was a really good game and a really good experience, and people now have the opportunity to come back and enjoy themselves at the next football game. Yeah. Granted, they got to wait a full season to go back, but I think that's the same scenario with a racetrack. You got to find a way to that fine line between having great racing and having an entertaining show all at the same time. Yeah,
it's a very fine line that you have to walk, because there's it shrinks every week. Folks that want to go to the track and they will sit there for 6 hours and just watch. If you get into long cautions and everything that starts to happen there, it's a very there's not a lot of us that will do that. You have to enhance the experience for the folks that you want to attract them. You want to get them to the racetrack and bring their friends. Say that I went to ABC Speedway and I had a great time. I mean that's really one of the challenges that we continue to see now as we go into 2022. But We'll get back on those resolutions coming up in just a little bit, but we can actually get the resolutions right here firsthand. Super excited right now as we go to the Lone Star Speed Zone hotline. We got the Kevins, man. These guys have hit on ways to make things happen. I think they're on a dual conference call, hopefully, as we get to talk to both of them tonight here on a chilly Monday in Texas. Kevin Rogers, Kevin Sesteri, welcome back to the Revved Up Sports Show, gentlemen. How we doing?
Man, we're good. We're good, man. I've been listening to the show. You guys, before we get started, I want to let y'all know what we appreciate what you are doing. Quality show, very informative, talking all aspects of motorsports, professional. Like, man, you guys are top-notch, top shelf, so it's an honor to be on tonight.
Cool.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
No, it's great that you guys, we appreciate the compliments as always, but it's great to see you guys expand out the brand. Obviously, you guys built a loyal following there at RPM Speedway, but really the question we jokingly ask all the promoters when they come on is when they decide to get in deeper with both feet, what the hell were y'all thinking? What made you guys decide to take over a brand new racetrack and rebuild it?
I'll defer that to Sister.
Well, I had an interesting phone call. It's funny you say that. I had an interesting phone call from Bo Rowden today. He's like, "What in the hell are you thinking?" You know, he said, you couldn't pay me enough to buy a racetrack or run another one. So I said, I guess we're just glutton for punishment. So it's just something that we really enjoy. I've been racing for a little over 25 years myself, and it's just time to get on this side of it, and I really enjoy it, and I know Kevin does as well. So just something we wanted to try to tackle and see what we can do with it.
Man, what a name! What a flash from the past, Bo Rowden. Man,
Yeah.
Now wasn't that dude? I mean, when you talk about enduros and all this stuff, he's Lone Star 600s and all this stuff. And he a great racer as well. I mean, that dude was he was a little bit ahead of his time as well back in those days, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think Bo was. I think he was one of the best modified racers we've had in the state of Texas. Kevin will probably attest to that, but I think he had gotten out of it as I was getting in the modified ranks. I didn't really get to race with him that much, but I always enjoyed racing with him or watching him race. And matter of fact, my number was 87, and
nice.
I think he ran 87 for a long time.
Yes, sir.
So pretty cool. And he's he reached out to us today just to see if we need any help with anything, and just kind of congratulate us and tell us we were idiots. So it was a good conversation.
And I want to clarify something here. What he just said, Bo is a legend in racing in Texas.
Man,
but
absolutely.
just so everybody on the broadcast knows, Kevin, if you would have raced with him, he'd have smoked you down just like a lot of these other guys did. Let's go ahead and get that out there.
That's probably true. Probably true.
There ain't no probably to it. No probably to
Oh,
it. He'll
my
probably
goodness.
let you put tear-offs on his helmet after hot laps or something.
But no, we've been very fortunate, and having some of those guys like Bo Rowden, Richard Snyder's been a huge part of our success over the past few years. The Edwards family, they were instrumental over there at RPM for us. So we got a lot of good guys that have been doing this for a long time. That Tommy Simons, Ricky Richardson, we talked to him the other day. So just a lot of guys have been doing it for a long time, and we kind of look up to some of these guys, and it's good to know we can always lean on those guys when we need some help. So
That's right.
Very, very refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great story. So, KR, before we get into the nuts and bolts of Rocket Raceway Park, man, I want to talk about the Race on Texas stuff. That it seemed like you and Owen were having the time of your lives over there in the Turn 5 bar. You were going in, talking to all the different race car drivers and getting the inside interviews and all that. How much fun was that? Do it kind of going out your element, going down to South Texas Speedway for the first time?
Well, we had our RPM banquet Friday night, and I wish I could have been down there for both days because Owen's wilder than a buck deer. Like, I'm just going to tell you, they hand us these hot mics, and he starts talking, and I'm like, my mom might be watching this, man. You can't be talking that kind of stuff, We kind of laugh, but that's actually, I've talked to him several times via text, emails, phone call. That's the first time I ever met him.
Really?
It was about 5 minutes before we went on camera.
Damn.
And he had been building us some trophies and doing some things. So we were doing business and communicating, and we just hit it off. And then I'm up there in the booth, and I'm not really a play-by-play guy. I like to do color and just kind of chime in when I can and hopefully help the show. But he's sitting there calling a race, and this cat goes through the infield, and he starts talking about this agricultural snake line he just did. And apparently that's the line he used on Friday, but it was new to me. And I laughed for about 20 minutes. I missed about 3 of the qualifiers, wiping the tears. And I said, where'd you come up with this stuff? He's like, man, I don't know. Like, it just, and the whole night was that way, but had an absolute ball with him, and excited for what he's doing down there. And he's a natural talent on the microphone. He was fun to just listen to him call and stuff, because I didn't know as many of the racers as he did. And so he had the upper hand, and we kind of just chimed in when it worked. But yeah, speaking of Race on Texas, Chris and Harry, those guys over there, like, I tell people all the time, between them and my race pass, 2 best things happened to Texas racing in 10 years. I mean, the live scoring and timing that my race pass offers, and then Race on Texas coming in, I guess, in about 2015, and giving our product a new platform to build some new race fans. My dad's in West Texas, so obviously he can't make all of our races, so he gets to watch them at home, and it's kind of nice. And he'll text me through the night like, hey, you need to do this, or getting a little dusty, or got a rut, just being dad. But But those guys, man, they do a lot for these racetracks, and I don't think everybody quite understands how giving they are back to the facilities and what they do, and the extra stuff that they do to help promote our sport. So I don't know if Chris and Harry's listening, but, man, those guys, outstanding work what they're doing, and we're glad to take them from RPM and continue our partnership with both of them up at the Rocket.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to tell you, KR, Owen sent me that possible name that he took on, South Texas Race Ranch, and he may add this at some point, so you can relate to this from that weekend there. He said, "Where it always gets Western." That may be the tagline of that place. I don't know. So we'll see. But speaking of that for you guys, with all the success that you've had and now moving forward to what you're doing with the Rocket, talk about streaming. I mean, for a lot of folks, for a lot of promoters, for a long time, streaming was like, hell no, I don't want any part of that because it hurts the front gate. Man, it's so important nowadays.
Well, I'll speak a little bit on it, and I'll turn it over to Kevin. Me and him have had conversations for years about it, because I was that guy. I'm like, man, I don't want no part of it, because if they can stay home and watch it for $39.99 a month, why would they want to come out here? And then what I realized is I'm driving through the pits at RPM in 2019 and looking around, and half the guys in our pit area had it up in the trailers on the TV. They were watching the racetrack and stuff, and I'm like, so I got their pit pass money, and they're subscribing to this like it's golden. And then I got to thinking, most people that are watching that, they're not going to be able to make my racetrack anyway. And what my Race on Texas has done is there's some profit sharing back to the racetracks, and that's really helped a lot, because when you get those monthly checks from those guys, you can start figuring in how many extra seats you actually sold that night. And so it's a big plus, and it's a 12-month commitment from those guys. So in the non-revenue part of the year, you're still getting a little money to keep things going. So I know Kevin can speak on a little bit as well, because me and him have had that conversation a lot. But yeah, and anymore, if you're not on the stream service and on My Race Pass, to me, I think a lot of people look at you as not as credible a venue as you really are, and so it's just a public perception these days, but we're very happy with both of them and excited to be a part of them again. So, Sturdy, did we lose you?
No, I was
I
was just listening to you rambling. I mean, I go to sleep sometimes listening to you rambling.
It's like music to his ears. Well, actually, he's old. He's way older than me, fellas. I should have prefaced that, so he might take a cat nap or two.
Well, that's the way we are. Bobby's young, but Bobby's full of energy, and I'm the old fart over here. So that's kind of the way we do this over here too.
So
but I'll second what. I'll second what Kevin said. I mean, that's Race on Texas. Looking at it at the end of the year at the books, you're like, wow, those guys, they might have been one of our biggest marketing partners at the end of the year. So that's big for us. And kind of like Kevin said, wasn't really sure about it at first, and but now we're able to kind of show kind of what we can do on a bigger stage. To somebody that might be watching from Iowa or Minnesota or San Angelo or wherever the case may be, so it's benefited us tremendously.
No, it's great to see that you guys are embracing the streaming. I think it's like you guys said that if you're not if you're not doing it nowadays, then everybody's going to think there's something wrong, because it's such a different audience to capture when you do the streaming stuff. But speaking of classes and watching the racing at the track, one of the things I noticed two things when you guys did the announcement and you released the schedule and the classes, and we've talked about it before, is it looks like you guys have two entry-level V8 classes, so to speak. You've got the Eco Mods, and then you guys get that cool Trooper Cruiser class, which it seems like it's going to take on like wildfire. We had an asphalt class that had a bunch of old cruisers that used to race real good. Is it an advantage or a disadvantage to have what I would call more beginner classes is not necessarily the right word I'm looking for, but an entry-level class to get people out of the grandstands and into racing?
Well, I'll speak on this for just a second. I'm not a big fan of having three modified classes at all from the fan side. But from a promoter side, at this point in the game, unfortunately, we have to have that many to make ends meet. And, I'm not a big fan of it on the fan side of it. I'd like to see a modified division, a late model division, a street stock division, and a beginner division. You know, but at the end of the day, those numbers it's hard to make those numbers work. You know, because we're so backgate driven nowadays that you know, it's just hard to make ends meet, you know, without doing something like that. But to answer your question on the, you know, the Eco Mod and the Trooper Cruiser that we've come out with this year, you know, I think it's important that we have those classes. My oldest boy, you know, the Eco Mod class is a perfect class for him. You know, getting him in a rear wheel drive car, open wheel, you know, affordable type class. You know, I think as promoters, I think what we have to do on our end is we have to make sure that we don't let those classes get out of hand as far as purses go. And, you know, sometimes, you know, we have guys say, well, we're bringing in, you know, 40 or 50 cars a night.
Right.
We should be getting paid this. Well, yeah, I get what you're saying, but, you know, it's still, we need to keep this an entry level class where guys can afford to get in here. So, you know, we're not, you know, paying big money and, you know, we get, you know, guys dropping down for a night or two to go race in that class. Or, you know, so I think that's, you know, we got to be real careful with the Eco Mod division. And I think me and Kevin have stressed with other promoters that we work with that, hey, you know, let's put a cap on how much we're going to pay these guys, you know, weekly. Let's put a cap on what we're going to pay these guys at our specials. I think, you know, our Trooper Cruisers, our plans are to pay the top three. I think it's going to pay $70 to win or $75 to win.
Love it.
You know, and fourth back will get a pit pass, and you have to use that pit pass for the next week. You know, we've got to keep that class as something that guys that are, you know, they can throw it on the trailer on, you know, Saturday morning, they can go race it, they can keep it on the trailer, go wash it, you know, Sunday morning. Yeah. You know, spend time with their families, go throw $30, $35 at the pit gate, you know, come Saturday night, go out and have fun with their friends. And let's do it again next week and keep it as affordable as we can. So I tell guys all the time, if you want to race for more money, you know, there's a class above this that we will pay you more money. Yeah. And some guys don't like to hear that, but, you know, I'm a firm believer that, you know, that's some of the cost that's went into the factory stock class. I mean, anytime you get to paying $1,000 to win on a regular basis or, you know, throughout the year, you know, the cost of the cars tend to go up. So, but that's just my opinion.
Yep. I agree. I mean, that's the downfall of an entry level class is when you start letting guys, you know, kind of drop down in and start doing this stuff. I'm like, guys, I mean, seriously, come on. And I mean, it should be a move up plan. I mean, get in an entry level class, do well, and then move your ass up. I mean, that's just kind of the bottom line. It's always been that way for me. That's what I've thought. So guys, let me ask you, so walk us through this. How did all this happen? All the success that you guys had, you know, at the prior track, and then you're afforded the opportunity here. I mean, kind of without delivering a bunch of business details to make the change. I mean, to walk away from an established thing that you had to go in, and now, I mean, you are walking in, and it's all on you. The discussions to get to this point, when you acquire, you take the place over, you take over the Speedway, and now it's Rocket Raceway Park.
Kevin, do you want to touch on that, or do you want me to?
I'll just let you go from it. I will say this: there was a lot of fighting back and forth.
I'm sure there was
on this and that. But no, I'll lead it off. I guess, you know, at the end of the day, it's just one of them deals. The business of RPM and stuff, and I'll preface it with Edwards and us. Everything's good. There's no ill will. It's just business. And so, with that said, the opportunity arose up at 82 Speedway, which is now Rocket Raceway Park, to purchase it, and it just kind of made sense. And so that's kind of where that was. A long story short, and Kevin, you can add some details, but basically it's just a business deal. It's just one of them things that one door was kind of closing, and again, all good on that, and then another one flew wide open, and we weren't ready to quit. So I know when the discussions were going, I told Kevin, I said, well, if we ain't going to do this no more, I'm going to start doing some other stuff. And try to put on some races, some other places, and whatever. And he's like, yeah, just do whatever. And then, you know, one week I was ready to keep going, and he was ready to quit, and vice versa. And then this deal kind of, and I don't know, you kind of feel like a kid at Christmas again. Just new challenges, new opportunities, new market. And, you know, I'm going to release a deal here in a day or two. We drew a 30, 60, 90, 120-mile radius around the racetrack just to kind of see where our target was. And I mean, we're back down into Fort Worth, almost to Stephenville, and up into like Muskogee, Oklahoma. Nice. So we got some opportunities to work with some other places. You know, Outlaw, I've been in talks with Ryan up there, the promoted Outlaw Motor Speedway in Muskogee. They run Friday nights, and they run USA stock cars. So it's a 2.5-hour pool, but I've already talked to racers up there like, yeah, we may not do it every weekend, but we're going to run some Friday, Saturday combos with you guys. So it'll just be fun to kind of to get some new guys in there, racing with some of the guys, and like I say, it's an hour and 20 minutes from downtown Dallas, so we're not too far out of the Metroplex either. So got a lot of good draws and stuff, but yeah, Kevin, go ahead and chime in there, and you can kind of, if I left
it was just one of those deals where, you know, like in any racing, you know, the racing world stuff gets out and starts circling around, you know. So Tracy Peters at 82 Speedway, he had caught wind that we might be, you know, looking to purchase a racetrack, and so he calls me up, and I'm thinking, man, Tracy, I've seen the price on your place, man. I can't, you know, we can't afford to do this, you know. So he said, well, just come on up and let's talk. So we ended up talking, and you know, we struck a deal that made sense for both of us, and you know, he was I think at the end of the day, I really think Tracy wanted someone to take the track over. His health has not been in the best of, you know, he hadn't been in the best of health as of late. And I think he was just trying to do so much by himself there that it kind of just took a toll on him. And, you know, so I think he was happy to see maybe me and Kevin, somebody like us, I'm not tooting our horn, but somebody like us that's had
for sure,
and had some success at RPM, and you know, he was, I think he was happy to see that, and you know, so you know, we talked with him, and Darren Short helped out on the deal as well. So you know, it was just it just, you know, I've always been a big guy, a big believer in things happen for a reason, and you know, so you know, here we are, and everything just kind of has fallen into place so far, and man, we're super excited to be, you know, down in Paris, or Petty, I guess you'd say. So it's about an hour from my location, my house, and it's about an hour to RPM from my place. So you know, the drive's not going to be, you know, about the same. So so it won't be too bad. So we're excited.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I was looking at when you guys released the schedule for Rocket Raceway Park there, you guys are basically running weekly, and you don't see that a lot anymore with a lot of racetracks either running every other week or, you know, once a month or whatever the case may be. Running weekly is kind of it's kind of a unique way to do it now. What made you guys decide to run weekly other than every other week, other than just having constant, you know, you can't pay the bills if there's no race cars on the racetrack. I get that, but what made the decision to go like straight weekly versus like an every other week program?
Well, I'll answer first, Kevin, if you don't mind. But I think it was after being at RPM 3 years, we tried, you know, every other week. We tried, you know, just a different schedule, but, you know, maybe race twice a month and then maybe race 3 times a month. And it just never, I think that's where we messed up. One of our mistakes at RPM was we didn't race weekly. I think our fans get out of rhythm. I think our racers get out of rhythm as well. You know, we went every other week with Buffalo Creek last year. Well, on our week to race, we might get a rain out. So that would entail us being off for 2 weeks, you know. So just one of those deals where it just didn't make sense for, you know, to continue doing business that way. And, you know, we're going to try this and see what happens, you know, see how it goes, and hopefully it works out for us.
Yeah. Absolutely. So one of the things, guys, that we talk about all the time, I mean, so much success up there, up north, you know, with your prior track there, with everything you guys did. I mean, you got Waco right there in the middle, then you got South Texas that is really a great hotbed as well. Any chance that we can, I know Texas is huge. It is big. any chance we can tie this whole thing together and just have like I mean, Texas is dirt track heaven when you really look at the layout of everything.
I'll let Kevin touch on that.
Yeah, man, I tell you, Texas is there's a lot of racing and a lot of race cars, and there's just a lot going on in Texas, and I think that's the kind of the ticket there is, you know, obviously the more you get into this, you get to know more of the other promoters, and you get to visit with them, and you know that's what's fun about working on Race on Texas and stuff. When I get an opportunity, it's because you're not being a promoter, you're being an interview or whatever, so you get a chance to kind of watch and talk and meet other people like Owen and stuff, and I think there'll be some opportunities to do some of that thing and you know, and even drawing like where we're at, for instance, even drawing some north of the Red River stuff, you know, and try to get some guys racing with guys they don't normally race with, and trying to work the best you can with everybody, because that's the ticket, you know. It's a frustrating thing when you look up and see 3 or 4 $3,000 to win specials on the same weekend, you know, 45 minutes away, and you're splitting cars, you're splitting hairs, and then drivers are having to pick, and you know they want to go race for all the money they can, and so that's what we're trying to do. But yeah, I think there's some opportunities, you know, and a lot of people worried about rules and how cars are going to change. And I'll be honest with you, I think everything's going to race out and be just fine. I think with the quick change and stuff in the limiteds, I think they'll make sure the rules stay, and they'll add weight. They'll do whatever. Todd Staley's been pretty good at being on the forefront of that, of working to get some new things in, but not penalizing the guy for not wanting to, you know, spend the money or the time to change it over. So I think you'll be just fine on all that. So, and I think you got a pretty good group of promoters right now in Texas, you know, that we can all, at least we may not all get along, we may not agree on everything, and we may have all our own agendas, but at the end of the day, we're all willing to sit around the big table and talk. And I think that's key, you know, because I think so many times we get caught up on acronyms in front of a rules package and stuff, and at the end of the day, us promoters I consider it kind of like a fraternity. You're a Pike or a Sig Ep or whatever, and we're all on the same boat, all trying to do the same thing. It doesn't matter what acronym we're racing or whether we have an acronym. So at the end of the day, we want to put on good quality events, and we want to have good races, good car counts, and try to work with everybody. It doesn't really matter exactly what it is. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of opportunity in Texas, so that's not always going to, crystal ball's not always going to line up the right way. But that's kind of the goal and the hope. And I think everybody's starting to kind of see that when we do work together a little bit, the car counts are a little better, quality of racing's better, the fan experience is better, the stream experience is better, and the marketing partners get a better bang for their buck. And it just seems like the world of motorsports is a lot better when we can work that direction.
Right.
I think it works better when everybody works together. I think we've learned that the hard way over the last couple of years with all the COVID stuff and everybody kind of fighting each other for race cars and all of that. It's good to see a lot of the promoters having the open book. But before I cut you guys loose, in terms of long-term picture, I mean, obviously you don't make the investment in the racetrack without having to do some capital improvements here and there and not thinking big picture. Have you guys set out? I mean, are you guys looking at like a 5-year picture? You guys even far out as a 10-year picture? I mean, what's this future going to be for you guys? It seems like the door's open and it's an endless possibility for you guys up there at Rocket.
Well, you know, I've got a small plumbing company, and I always kind of keep it at a 3-year plan, and then see where we're at after 3, and then, you know, we go 5, then we go 10, you know. So I think there's a lot of potential there to, you know, at Petty. The facility's got a little bit more room. There's more grandstands, there's more parking. I mean, the layout there is, we've got a lot more potential, and that's something that was really intriguing to me and Kevin when we were, you know, in negotiations on this deal and trying to make this deal work. And you know, we're beating these World Outlaws, Lucas Oil guys, and we're beating these guys down. And you know, we're just to the point where we're like, hey man, just give us a shot. You know, just give us a shot, and we'll show you what we can do. And I think now we have a facility that's capable of holding some big events. And you know, Kevin's already working on, something for early next year, pretty neat deal in February that we're already working on. So, we're going to continue to do the things that we've done and like the Brian Mize, the SmackDown and some of our, marquee events that we've, kind of, taken and run with. And we're hoping to build on those, just, we got a long-term plan, just not sure what that plan is just yet. So
Sure. Yeah. It's a brand new thing. I mean, it's a brand new venture that you guys are taking on. So guys, give folks the lowdown. We've had the schedule popped up there, but websites, everything. Tell folks how they can view that schedule, get more details, get in contact with you guys. I mean, because there's probably people. I think there's such a vast market up there where you guys are. I mean, folks want to sponsor the joint. I mean, tell folks how to get a hold of you guys.
Well, it's pretty simple. We rocketracewaypark.com. It's getting close to being finished, but our cell numbers are blasted all over the place. They can get a hold of us on Facebook, Messenger, emails, whatever. We're pretty accessible. And, I was listening to before we got on, and I don't remember which one of y'all was talking about it. You was talking about venues, and that's what I told Kevin. To me, Rocket Raceway Park is Lamar County's finest family entertainment venue.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that philosophy because sometimes racetrack doesn't sound appealing, but we've got a family entertainment venue now, and we're going to be bringing in some live music, some things that aren't racing related because we got the real estate, and there's a market for a lot of different things. And at the end of the day, you want to pay bills, and that's kind of the goal. And I'll kind of touch a little bit what Kevin said. We're working on something for next February that when we get this thing announced, hopefully in the next month and a half. You guys, y'all going to want to come up from Austin, Texas. I'm just going to tell you, it's going to be something special. So it's going to be quite the thing to kind of get the 2023 season going. But there's a lot of cool stuff going on. It's a good time to be in motorsports. I know there's if you watch the news, there's plenty of bad things to talk about. But if you turn the news off and turn on a good motorsport show like what you guys are doing, like the 2022, I think is going to be a good year, and I think people are ready for some new stuff, and we're going to try to deliver and try to exceed their expectations every time we open the door.
I do not doubt that. I mean, because you guys, everything you put your hands on, it seems to turn to the golden egg. So I know that that's going to be the case there, and absolutely, we will sure make our way up there. And by the way, have Mike's will travel if ever needed. So just kind of keep us posted on that at any point.
No, I'd definitely take you over Owen any day. I like Owen. Can't keep up with all the snake line and the agriculture western. He had me confused, something terrible. One last thing I'm gonna comment on.
Sure.
Y'all pre-race. I was at the Tulsa Shootout last week for a few days.
Yeah, please do.
And I've been reading all the stuff about Kyle Busch and this and that. I'm gonna tell you what I observed. Every person that stopped by to talk to him, he stopped and talked to him. Like,
love it.
I've watched him on TV and kind of had a sour taste about him, thinking, well, he's just not very, very friendly or whatever. But, there was a few times that I saw him and said, hey, I'm fixing to strap in and go race, come back when we get done, But for the most part, man, everybody that walked by there, he would stop and take a photo and stuff. So a lot of respect for those guys. I know a lot of people are like, well, these NASCAR guys are going to mess our sport up. I'm going to tell you, I watched a couple of 12, 14-year-old blonde-headed girls put some slide jobs on Kyle. And so, like, at the end of the day, man, there's a great equalizer. There's a small race car on a small bull ring indoors, and it was fun to watch. And I like to see those guys come down and play with us because he said it best. There's a lot of talent on a weekly level that you'll never see on Sundays racing NASCAR. And I wholeheartedly agree and believe that myself. But, yeah, looking forward to it, man. Thank you all very much for letting us be on here and waste 30 minutes of y'all's life. I'm sure that's time you'll never but we're looking forward to it, and we can't wait. We kick off March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, United States Modified Touring Series, $5,000 to win Friday night, $10,000 to win on Saturday night. So we're going to come out of the gate with fireworks and have a well of a good show.
Yep, absolutely, man. Congratulations, guys. You said it. That real estate, that's a big thing. That is a big thing. That's your puppy right there. You guys can do what you want to do with it. So best wishes, man. Let's stay in contact. Let us know how we can help anytime.
All right. Thank you guys very much.
You bet. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. There they are. Those dudes right there. Man, damn, they're good. Damn, they're good. Take out all the nice words they're talking about this show, but that's really good. I mean, they have done the thing that we preach all the time on this show.
Mm-hmm.
They own the GD place.
They own the place,
And
and
that
that helps out a whole lot. It's easier to spend your money on something you own than spend your money on something that you're leasing.
That's the whole thing. I mean, they're going to go in there now. Anything that they do to that place, and I've watched it. I mean, I've seen everything that they've posted on that Facebook page. They are investing at this point. They are investing into the place. So that's where, I tell people all the time when you talk about renting versus buying. And again, I mean, I know that we mentioned this. It's a hell of a lot easier to say go buy a racetrack, but they've been able to do it when you own it and start doing things. You're investing in it, and that's exactly what they're doing. And the thing is, the success in the past is right there. I mean, these guys, man, they are going to. This is going to be a destination place. I promise you. By the way, it's in Petty.
Yeah, right. What a perfect name for a race
probably doesn't
facility in
hurt.
Petty.
That probably doesn't hurt.
Well, it's one of those things. We've talked about it before on the show that there's a certain amount of buy-in that everybody has to get in. Your fans have to buy into the vision. Your racers have to buy into the vision. The staff does too. And these guys, the vision they had over at RPM worked. The successful formula they had was working over there, and this is just an enhancement of that. Moving to your own venue and your stuff, rebranding. It takes a lot to completely rebrand something. We talked to Owen about it too.
Yeah, about
it to challenge having something brand new. He's got to do all new social media, everything like that. And so the challenge is there to be able to make it happen. But I think that everybody, especially now. When these guys are infectious in a good way, right? I mean, you just listen to these guys talk, and you've got the solid, the solid business there. It's
a great balance there. That
it really is. It really is kind of like the balance like we have.
Yeah, it's like the show. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I mean, I think that listen to the vision, listen to those guys. Obviously, we know the success that they had there at RPM is now going to carry over to Rocket, and that'd be a fun deal. Think about races with competition. If you think about it, if my schedule's right in my head, we talk about racetracks. You have two big alternatives that weekend. You can go up to North Texas and you can watch the USMTS, or you can come to Central Texas and you can watch the World of Outlaws there at Cotton Bowl.
Right.
But it's great to know that within the state, within a couple hour drive, is that you got the opportunity to see some of the best racers in the world at their craft with that particular series.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And I think that it is, man, to figure out how to make all that tie in together. And I love what he said. I mean, you have the fraternity of promoters right there. And in Marianne's case, you got the female there that does a great job when it's on the dirt side. But I think they're going to do really well. And man, I am very curious to know what that 2023 thing is.
If you're working over that, if you're working over it 14 months in advance, it better be something special.
That one kind of caught me blindsided right there. I didn't have any insight on that one, but I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be cool. Let's go back to the resolution. So we talked about we've done one. I mean, or two, I guess it was. Let's talk about the Gulf Coast Racing Series, whether it be, and let's tie the whole thing together. I mean, because you have to have Mobile and Houston, and this is where I'm kind of like Jeff Gordon. I'm like, okay, I have to speak on this where I'm invested. Well, yeah, invested in this. You are as well.
Yeah.
But so what if we're Gina, if we're Bo, if we're all of those people on Gulf Coast? I mean, what do we resolve in 2022?
I think the first problem that you have to do is you got to, when I say conquer Houston, I think that it comes out as a different way, but you have to find a way to get Houston to get stabilized, I think.
Yeah.
To where, you have a certain number of dates there and you have a little bit of built-in room for some rainouts and stuff like that. And I get it. It's hard. The logistics of the Houston deal is totally unique of any racetrack in the country because of the fact that we talk about it all the time. It's a very successful drag racing facility that happens to have a really nice asphalt track in the middle of it. And so I think that, the Houston deal, because I think that's home for everybody. That's the home of the asphalt central stuff in Texas is Houston, because that's the last one we got. Mm-hmm. And so I think that a lot of people in our neck of the woods over here in Central Texas, it's still hold on to that little bit of grasp of what's the remaining stuff of pavement You know, when I put the schedules together the other day, you know, the way I had to make it happen is I've got 5 columns of dirt tracks and I've got 1 column of pavement.
Yeah.
That's when you know that it's a little one-sided here. Not that it's a bad thing that the dirt racing stuff has taken over, but I think that the New Year's resolution for most people is going to be get Houston wrapped up and get Houston saddled up for at least a couple of races to try to get that car count built up, because what's good for Houston ends up being good for Mobile too, and vice versa.
Yeah, and the toughest part with that is that to try to tie them together. I mean, the Florida people, they will not travel. I mean, you're not going to get them to go to Alabama. And you're sure as hell not going to get them to go to Texas, or come to Texas, without a big, if we had a snowball or if we had the Texas Big Shot 250, 10,000 to win. That's probably not enough nowadays to get them to travel, whether it be super late models or whatever. So that's the biggest challenge right there that I've talked to many people about is to get. I mean, it's hard to correlate the two because it's a long ways either way. Either way, I mean, the Texans that go up there or the Alabama folks that come down here. So to try to figure out something there, I think would be a resolution. But then again, at the same time, I think you kind of need to forget that because it's never happened. I mean, it's never happened. It's never happened. But I think the challenge is, like you're saying, where it gets so hard with Texas is if you only have 6 or even 8 dates at a stretch. It's hard to build. I mean, talk about an eco stock. I mean, we can say, well, it's only $3,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for me.
That's a lot of money for a class that you can only race anywhere from 4 to 8 times a year. One place. And do they open up the door to run at Mobile? Sure they do. But it's a long way to get there. If your budget allows you to run an eco stock, chances are you don't have the money to consistently go all the way to Mobile to race that thing.
Exactly. And I mean, for Houston, I think what Houston needs to do, or Gulf Coast needs to do, I mean, the whole super stock thing, I mean, we go back to this all the time. And yes, there is a very concerted effort to try to get the super stocks and the Wheelman Series rules all in one. Super stock, guys and ladies, I love you. You are a dinosaur. You are the one class. I mean, the Houston, that's it. And for 4 to 6 or maybe even 8 times, that's a lot. And I think that's where you got to have that continuity there. The super stock thing with the Wheelman thing, it needs to line up. But then you start butting heads with the Outlaws, I think the resolution for the Gulf Coast Racing Series for me, even from the backside looking at this, is you need to grow the Outlaws because there is such a contingent of Outlaws in Florida. We need to figure out how to make them relevant with the Gulf Coast Racing Series because, again, you do have the Wheelman thing. And there's a lot of challenges. You got the tire challenges. I mean, it's Hoosier versus American Racer. And I mean, there's so many things right there to answer that resolution as to how to make that happen a lot of shit has to happen.
Well, I think if you take out the whole Wheelman versus the Superstock thing, it makes it considerably easier.
Sure.
To be able to grow the Outlaw class in Houston is one that makes a difference. I think part of the reason that the Outlaw class doesn't grow in Houston is because we don't have any late model racing anymore.
That's it.
Because you could take all the late models that are here are older. They should all be turned into Outlaws because a lot of people have these older late models that just been sitting for 3 or 4, sometimes 6 years. And so I think that's the one downfall to not having any late model racing in Texas is we don't have a chance to get the Outlaw. But it's convincing guys and have a late model. There's a reason why some of these guys haven't raced in 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. Not because they didn't want to travel or they just got out of it. They started doing something else. There's multiple reasons why somebody stopped racing these expensive ass late models. And so I think that becomes a way to, we saw the demise of the Superstock class when car counts were good and they made them look like Outlaws. Mm-hmm. That was the downfall of the Superstock class. If you'd kept it with the Camaro bodies, and I get that the Camaro bodies was getting harder and harder to find. For a fact how hard it is to find.
You can get them from 5-star. I mean, you can get a good aftermarket looking Camaro body, but I mean it's relatable. I like that part, but here's my thought, and again, it's too late in the game right now, but I think what would work in Texas if there were 10 to 12 dates is that's when you implement the late model stock. because Lord knows there are so many of those. I mean, because a lot of the super stocks became those, the old TSRS. I can see that blowing up around here if we had 12 to 14 dates, because maybe then that's when you could get some of the guys from the Cars Tour, and I'm not sure what those rules are, but I mean, the stock front stub, do whatever you're going to do on the backside, weight jacks, all that, figure out the motor rules and all of that. I think the late model stock here would work exceptional in Texas if you had enough dates, but 6 to 8 is not enough. No. And that's not the Gulf Coast Racing Series fault or Dean Baker's fault. That's neither one of their faults.
There just needs to be another asphalt track open.
Sure. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I've talked to a lot of people that I'm like, build you a quarter mile out of Coda. I mean, something. The San Antonio Raceway, the drag thing that's closing. There's plenty of room out there. Operate that thing like Houston. And again, I mean, we're just sitting here giving ideas because, we have all the money in the world and could do these ideas.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's lacking for Gulf Coast. I think, I mean, the future is in Mobile. And I think for Gulf Coast, what Gulf Coast Racing Series needs to do, what we need to do, is try to figure out a way to align ourselves with South Alabama and Pensacola and the Modifieds of Mayhem, and somehow taper in the Houston thing to where we can exacerbate people to come want to do it and back and forth. But man, it's a long ass way. We've done that drive. It is far.
It's super
far.
long.
It's far. So for people to say, just go to Mobile if you live in, I don't know, Conroe, that's a long way, man.
And the construction makes it worse.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't just breeze over there. I mean, it's not easy. So, Gulf Coast is the one that there's a lot of pressure right there. I mean, I don't know. I would think New Year's resolution for Gulf Coast really needs to be to find some continuity there between the two. Get some people to come to Houston if you're going to be able to have race dates, but at the same time for Mobile, get a little influx from Florida, maybe into Mobile, that you're not gonna. So what I'm saying is tie some Mobile into Houston, tie some Florida into Mobile,
which is harder than what
Two
it
of
seemed.
them. Yeah. So I would think. I mean, that I'm just saying that. So anyway, that's Gulf Coast Racing Series, and again, this is all free advice. All free advice, courtesy of the Revved Up Sports Show.
Yeah, and remember, we can make an advertising plan.
So
you said free, and I'm like, well,
Yeah, well, that's right. We'll give you more information. We'll give you better details as we can make you an advertising plan that'll work on your budget too. But
because we had enough advertisers, we'd actually take a break during this show.
You ain't never lie. We got commercials here, but we're not going to play them because that nobody paid for them, for crying out loud. But so let's quickly go to Owen. So now you got Texana Raceway Park. I love that schedule. I love the 2-month schedule right there. I like the Corpus Christi. I like that schedule as well. New Year's resolutions for Owen. I would think for Owen, where he is at, New Year's resolutions need to be, please don't have a freaking hurricane.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Please, no tropical storms.
Yeah, no tropical storms, no rain, no bad rainstorms. But I think that the part that makes Owen stuff unique is that imagine if he's able to find a way to make it all work.
Oh my goodness!
I'm not saying, and that sounds, yes, he's going to make it all work, but that's a super huge challenge. And it's another thing we talk about buying in. He had to get Cord to buy in to the fact that he was going to start leasing South Texas Speedway,
sure,
the South Texas Race Ranch. He had to get Cord to buy into that. Now, it looks like everything's kind of working out like it should with both those schedules kind of lining up. It's not a complete every other weekend type of deal.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of race dates in there. I think he's got a couple of off weekends that I think he's going to end up going to L87 anyway. But the New Year's resolution would be I would say the New Year's resolution is don't get behind, because he's got so much that he's got to catch up on. Is that could be detrimental. One little thing that can create a small snag right now at this point is a big snag later.
That's right. That's exactly right. And to try to coordinate the two, It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. You've got the tracks that they're going to work hand in hand. They're trying to get all of that in order, and I'm sure that they will. I mean, you've got the great, we said, puppet master. I mean, you've got the guy right there. That's the magician. I mean, the wizard. I mean, Owen's going to be the one to do it. New Year's resolution for me should be that he needs to try to get some folks as well to assign them tasks so he can do what he's really good at, and that's overseeing everything. I mean, because it's a lot of hats. And again, I know that we know you go work for a racetrack, you ain't going to retire.
No.
So you've got to get. I mean, that's where you've got to get. And I think with the Corpus Christi part, I think that those tracks are in close proximity to where he can get people to buy in that will really tie them together because of him. Because I think he's going to be the one that can really make that true Texas Gulf Coast. You've got a nice little belt right there. I mean, from the race ranch over to Edna.
Well, and he can even tie in I-37, despite the fact he's not actually the promoter over at I-37. I-37 doing well bodes well for Corpus because it's really not that far distance from San Antonio to Corpus, especially from San Antonio to I-37. You're talking about 40-something miles to go from the heart of San Antonio down to Pleasanton. So he is interested in the success at I-37 as well as the tracks that he's promoting and leasing. So, I mean, I think he has a vested interest there, too. I still think that there's still too far of a distance from Texana to be worried about Cotton Bowl and vice versa. But then again, the promoters themselves don't think so because they're working together on it. But I think that, having that vested interest in the entire South Texas market, and no one cares about everything. He cares about everything from Waco all the way down to Edna. And so, I think he's happy about having the success there at Rocket Raceway Park because that's good for everybody else.
Yeah. They all work together. So quickly, 37. I think this is a pivotal year for I-37. And we talked to Johnny here on the show, and again, to coordinate with these guys, it's a good relationship that they all have together. But I think for 37, I think the New Year's resolution needs to be for them. I mean, there's a lot of, for whatever reason, there's bad taste in people's mouth.
Which is weird.
Yeah. I mean, because I think what you need to do is, squash that and not have a reset or a brand new start, but just put that aside and just make people believe. And I really don't get it. I don't get what the discord there is with 37. I mean, and quite frankly, it pisses me off because I know for so long we would hear people that say you need to go to 37. I mean, 37 is a track. Come on out, whatever. And then just like a cat, a cat changes colors or whatever the phrase is you want to use. Here's people frowning and shitting on 37. I'm like, you ain't had a place to race, and they've been giving you a place to race for 3 years. What in the hell is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely got to be some continuity there. I think my New Year's resolution for I-37 is don't get lost. Mm-hmm. And when I say don't get lost in the
Roll Tide, Dink. Absolutely.
I know. I can't believe you had that hat on the other day.
I had to. It was a gift.
Well, I mean, other than UTSA, the only other school I was going to go to was Georgia, but that's another show for another day. My grandparents lived right outside of Athens and used to go there on the square and have this is pre-wife times. So,
I had to do it.
Yeah. So anyways, back to
worked out.
Yeah, sure did, didn't it? Of course, I got to pull for the little guy too, with Cincinnati being a group of 5. So, anyway, back to the New Year's resolution.
Don't get me started.
Back to the New Year's resolution there. I think just not to get lost in the shuffle. I think that there's been so much. There's been, and not in a bad way to Owen at all, because all the publicity has been on Owen with the South Texas Race Ranch and the continued success there in Texana. I think that Johnny needs to continue ways to make the track better to continue to be relevant, because if all 3 of those tracks are thriving, man, that possibility for racing in South Texas is huge.
Dude, think about that. I mean, that it's we talk about it because I've laid out the logistics of those 3 tracks to people around the country, and I'm like, okay, here's this one, and here's this one, and they're like, that's a lot of miles. I'm like, maybe in your state in Texas.
Yeah,
it's not very far. I mean,
you get used to driving in Texas pretty damn quick.
They are neighbors. They are neighbors. That's a great resolution. I mean, don't get lost in all the hubbub of everything that's going to be going on. And I saw a comment there, about advertising, and that's where I think, depending on what kind of advertising that you're thinking about, because there's social media is a great place to do your advertising. That's where a lot of people go to do that when it comes to racing. For there we go. In studio pup. I'll tell a lot of people, I've told racetrack owners around the country, when it comes to radio advertising, terrestrial radio, don't do it, because it will not. We know this better than anybody. Yeah. You ain't going to recoup that, because you are going to spend a lot. I mean, especially if you go and advertise, at the CC conglomerate, you're going to pay a lot, and you are not going to gain that back at $12 a head.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of time to get the return on investment going with regular radio. Although, granted, we do have a regular radio show that if you'd like to sponsor, give us a shout. Always,
and that's a local.
That's a local, live, local, and digital in Austin, Texas.
That's a local conglomerate. We can set the rates. So, yeah, absolutely. But, that's the thing. That's a great thing. 37, stay in with all this. I mean, partner up with those guys. They're all good buddies over there. I think they're going to be just fine. But again, they're so weather dependent. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Nature of a dirt track.
And I'll tell you, 37. I mean, I don't know who's in place with what, but the one thing that I always see is people questioning decisions and calls and whatever the case may be. Stay consistent.
Yeah.
Don't change your rules. I'm not saying that you've done them in the past or that you've done that in the past, but don't. I mean, gray area. I mean, stay consistent.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way that it's got to work.
Employ people to make those calls.
That's right.
And let them do it, and then abide by what they call, even if they're wrong, like the NFL. That was a fumble yesterday. They missed the call, but they stand by it. And that's what has to happen.
That was a touchdown to Tennessee, too.
Absolutely it was.
That was a touchdown for Tennessee.
Absolutely it was. And that's what needs to happen here.
Even if you hire an asshole race director, as long as he's an asshole to everybody, that's all that matters. Even if you hire a shitty race director, as long as he's a shitty race director to everybody,
and does it every week,
consistency is what matters the most when it comes to race directing.
Right, and that's the one thing. We were joking around here the other day when we were talking about about Jack DQing people for the carburetor. Well, he did it. He did it all the time.
And nobody learned.
When you go to CVS, you better be right on the carburetor, because if there's a gray area there, he gonna get you
every time on
the carburetor. Speaking of that, Cotton Bowl Speedway, this is a tricky one because it's they have a packed schedule.
They must have too many races at Cotton Bowl.
I agree. I think they do. Especially, is it especially or especially? Especially with all of these other ones that we're talking about. And there is an influx, because where Cotton Bowl holds that wild card over all the other ones, it seems like is people want to go race there, because it's what was that show, Electric Company, the one thing that doesn't belong, whatever that was way back in the day on PBS.
Yeah.
Cotton Bowl is the one that does not factor into all these tracks, because you've got you got the Race Ranch, you got Texana, you got 37, and you got Heart of Texas. Then you got this monstrosity out there in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. People want to go run there.
It's the biggest of the five.
It's massive, and I mean, Marianne and H, it is a beautiful place. They do a great job. I mean, everything that they do, I mean, from the VIP to everything else, I mean, they are on their own. But I agree, that's a lot of dates.
It's a lot of dates, and it doesn't allow anybody to travel. And I think that when I say that, it doesn't allow people to travel to you, and it also keeps your people from traveling around. I think that Cotton Bowl has shown that they have a pretty hardcore base of racers that really doesn't like to travel a whole lot. Those guys like running Cotton Bowl, and they're just content running Cotton Bowl. And when you get a bigger race at the end of the season, they go for the most part. But yeah, they're pretty diehard set on running Cotton Bowl, so you don't see a lot of crossover that way. But yeah, I just think that there's we talked to the Kevins about it, and I think Marianne and H are probably on the same page as the Kevins are about if you run every week. that's less chance of people not doing something else other than racing.
Sure. It becomes a part of the routine.
And we knew back in the day when Longhorn was right, even when Thunder Hill first started going every single week from April to September, that was it. Everybody knew where the hell you're going to be on a Saturday night. They knew not to invite you to weddings. They knew not to kids' basketball games, none of that stuff. You never got invited to any of that stuff because everybody knew that come Saturday night, you're going to sit at the grandstands and you're either going to be racing that car or you'd be watching them cars.
And I was thinking about that when I saw the Cotton Bowl schedule, because I'm thinking, okay, that's a lot of dates, but maybe that's because they've been snake bitten by rain dates. But that's a weird thing. Since Marianne and H took over, they haven't had that problem. You notice that? I mean, it hasn't been near as bad as it was in the prior regime. I mean, it was like every week they were getting rained out. But I mean, they haven't had that problem. And the other thing, I think, where they can do this, we can talk about a lot of race dates, but where Cotton Bowl can do this, they've got supporters. I mean, Ken Ladd pays them every year. I mean. But I think that you really hit on something that's great for them, and they should be extremely happy that they have it there, is that they do, man. They've got that support. I mean, it is Thunder Hill East.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is on dirt.
It really is. A lot of the same drivers that used to race for Marianne on the asphalt are now racing with her on the dirt
Absolutely.
track. You've seen, we could name them, but we won't name them all because we probably miss a couple. So I think that is the buy-in factor that we talk about all the time. People have bought in. Her racers have bought in. Her sponsors have bought in. Her staff has bought in. Everybody seems to be bought into the plan that she and H have put forth to try to make it the best show possible, and I think they're getting there.
They've done a great job.
Yeah.
They've done a great job. I mean, honestly, their resolution, I would think, would be to continue moving forward. I mean, continue what they're doing. And I mean, there's a lot of folks. There's a lot of, I've talked to... And it's so funny to me because I've talked to folks that have gone to Cotton Bowl, and they're like, okay, here's what's weird to me about going to Cotton Bowl is that you see the entire presentation, everything that happens at Cotton Bowl, and it seems like an asphalt show. I'm like, well, these people ran an asphalt track.
Yeah.
That's why it seems like an asphalt track. That's why you have a longer intermission. That's why you have the things that bring people out. I mean, that's why you have power wheel races and all the stuff. And I think for them, I mean, the resolution needs to be just continue doing what they're doing, because whatever it is, whether you buy into it or not, I mean, there's a lot of people that have said that about, well, it's an asphalt show. Well, they're there every time. Mm-hmm. They go every damn race.
And the reason it's an asphalt show because they used to watch the asphalt shows there at Kyle. Mm-hmm. Or at Longhorn, or wherever the case may be, where they run an asphalt shows.
Yeah, and I really do think that really is the diamond in the rough right there, because it is not only the outlier just because of location, it is the outlier because it is. I mean, it's a place, hell, they're going to have the World of Outlaws there again. And, I mean, I think that's one of the highlights from 2021 that we can go back to. That place, the day we were there, holy smoke.
Packed.
I ain't never seen that. Yeah, that looked like SAS on the comeback in 2013.
Yeah,
what that looked like.
And the racing was great too.
It was. I mean, it was really good. So they're onto something right there where I think that Marianne and HE, I don't know if it's a resolution of theirs or not, but they've really done a good job of taking in what Marianne learned, in the years there with Brian over at Kyle, to tie that in what she did with Man Racing Promotions to turn it to a dirt fashion to where it's they're sitting on a really good product, and they got a jam-packed schedule. They got a pit full of cars. They're the only track that brings the modifieds.
It's weird, isn't it?
Isn't it crazy? It's crazy.
Texana brings them a little bit, but not to the consistency that Cotton Bowl does.
Not like that. And I mean, not a slide at the track. I mean, it ain't 2,000 to win. I mean, but man, they come, and maybe a part of that is that's really the place where you can get out there and put your foot into that modified and really feel what it does. I mean, maybe that's what it is. It's so wide and fast, but whatever the hell they're doing right.
They definitely got it took them a while to get their feet on the ground to understand about the difference between the dirt and the asphalt. I think the biggest thing is that they have to differentiate their classes, which we've run into it before.
Yeah.
Kevin Sester did a really good job talking about not having too many modified classes. Cotton Bowl has really way too many stock classes.
Yeah.
But I think that they've got to be just slightly a little bit better at there's only so much the announcer can do to tell you the difference between the cars. But I think the track has to go the same way with the Outlaws and the Super Stocks in Houston. Make them some different color spoilers, put them some different color stuff where the windshield would be, got to differentiate them up a little bit more so that they can understand which is what, put an O next to the number for Outlaws or something just to make them different.
Yeah. So that's all your racetracks around here. I mean, just the local and regional stuff that we talk about here is we're at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. But I do want to go resolutions for, I know we talked about series and all that. I mean, we could get into the Cars Tour and all that. I mean, but again, that's one of those products where this will be an interesting year for them with the change from the super late models, and I think that's a great change because, like we were talking about with the pros, I mean, man, that's money in the bank right there.
Especially, I think they made a transmission announcement today. They're going to allow 2 different types of transmissions in the series. So check out the Cars Tour website and their Facebook page for more information on that. But it's they've got a formula that works with that. With that, the New Year's resolution is don't mess up the formula for those late model stock cars.
Don't mess it up. Don't give in. And I mean, even when we talk about the Southern Super Series, are expanding out a little bit right there. I think it's a pivotal year now where you may have another rival series that's going to come in, and that's such a difficult one right there because those things are so expensive and it's a lot of money, and you've got tire issues and all that. But we can do that on another program. But I do want to focus on quickly, Bobby, before we go around here in Texas. Let's talk about factory stocks. I think this is a pivotal year when it comes to resolutions for the factory stocks because you're at a point right now because where you do have a divide where you've got this thing getting to be just a tad bit expensive, and you've got the purpose-built cars and all that where it's kind of taken away a little bit out of the appeal that was really bringing this thing in, the affordable rules, the pull-off tires, and all this stuff that was really kind of tugging at the heartstrings and pulling guys from asphalt that may have had stuff sitting around. I think 2022 is so pivotal because you're at a point right now, but one wrong move or one bad decision, and this thing is going to fall off the rails, just like we did in pavement when it came to TSRS or whatever it was.
I think that the biggest thing that you can say about the Outlaw, I keep calling them Outlaws, for the factory stock,
it is the Dirt Outlaw, is
thank you for pure stocks.
Absolutely.
Because I think that opens up the door for people that don't want to dive in straight into a modified and don't want to dive into the shark-infested waters of a factory stock race. That pure stock class, and the cars look similar. They do. Obviously, when they get on the racetrack, you can tell the difference between them.
Sure.
But thank goodness for the pure stocks. I think that's going to add. That's gonna slow, to me, the pure stock is gonna slow the roll of the factory stocks. Something's got to slow it down, not so much in speed, but the fact that they're starting to see rule changes and everything else. Pretty soon, it's gonna be, you're gonna have such a huge divide between the haves and the have-nots of the factory stocks. You're gonna end up having a B. You're gonna end up having to have a former factory stock class, whatever you want to call it. But it's in between factory stocks and pure stocks. So they got to work on a way to try to. The New Year's resolution is don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of guys that race in factory stocks, and again, we never disclose information that we're given here, but it's like I talked to a guy just a while back, and he's like, a very good factory stock racer. Does extremely well, fast, good car. Everything about it. Sticks like a magnet and fires off out of a cannon. And I said, man, what a great car. Oh, that's my old, whatever, ran it wherever back in whenever. I'm like, really? Man, that thing is bulletproof. It's good car. Well, I took it and did, I did this to it and that and
So it's not your old
car. That
car.
Makes sense. Yeah. It's the basis of your old car, and I think that really is what's going to be important to keep that class. It's the go-to class. I've got one word for you: Dwarf Car Racing Series of Texas. That's what you want to avoid.
That's right.
No offense, friends that race dwarf cars right now, but that ain't what we used to run. I've been watching a lot of those old videos and watching them old junky, as they were called, cars running around back then. Man, they were good.
A lot of them, too.
Man, they were good. A lot of them. Great program. I love talking to those Kevins because those guys, I mean, as we said, and I think that's one thing that we can take out of that conversation is that he said it's very much a fraternity of racetrack promoters. And I think that they're all feeling it right now to where that cooperation, even if it's not aligning race dates, but just conversing with each other, bouncing ideas off each other, get the tech guys talking to each other. I think that's so important right now for us, racing here in Texas and up through the Gulf Coast.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think having everybody on the same page, Dave Moody said it best with us, a rising tide raises all boats.
Absolutely. Great program. Thank you all for checking in with this. We said it may become a call-in, but of course we ran out of time once again when we get to the hashtag Real Race Talk. We'll do that again coming up very, very soon. But hopefully everything good for you all with your holiday and your New Year's again. We are passing along condolences and thoughts to Glenn and Casey and the whole family there with Kathy. That's a loss right there, and I'll tell you honestly. I mean, one of the things that I thought about when I first saw that is it's going to be tough for them. Obviously with the loss, but talking to Miss Ellie on this program last week, I mean, for Casey and Glenn, I mean, she was the glue,
absolutely, the
glue of that. I mean, she was the one when you saw those guys come in, and it's like, okay, Casey's here. Well, there's Kathy.
Yep.
So that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough for that family. So again, once we know of services and all that, we'll get it on our socials because honor to be paid for a great lady right there. Tough loss. Thank you to the Kevins, Kevin Rogers, Kevin Sestair. Here we go. 22, brand new year. It's going to be the best year bet.
Yeah,
ever.
That's your number. One of your numbers.
One of them. Long time number right there. Long time number. A lot of memories with that one. I wish I was still 22. Like Taylor Swift says.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'd do it again.
Yeah, no. Hey, no show next Monday, but just stay tuned. We'll let you know when the next one's coming.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. No show next Monday.
That's right. Hashtag Real Race Talk from Texas. RevvedUpSportsShow.com. Right here on Facebook. RevvedUpSportsShow.tv. At RevvedUpATX for Bobby, I'm Rodney. We gone. Have a great week.